On September 9, 2025, a major event shook the Middle East. Israeli fighter jets launched a surprise airstrike on Doha, the capital city of Qatar. The attack targeted leaders of Hamas, who were meeting there to talk about a ceasefire for Gaza. 6 people were killed, including a Qatari security official and the son of a Hamas leader. This was a very shocking attack. It was the first time Israel had struck so deeply into the land of Qatar, a country that helps the United States and works as a peace mediator. This event broke old ideas about safety and stability for countries in the region. It caused a major crisis. This single attack quickly caused big changes across the Arab world. Just a few days later, Egypt's president, Abdel Fattah el-Sisi, started to talk with other Arab leaders. He wanted them to create a new military alliance, like NATO. He called it an Arabian NATO. The main goal was for Arab nations to protect each other together from outside threats. President Sisi saw this as a way to stand against what he believed was Israel's growing power and plans in the region. Even though this idea for an Arabian NATO was later not fully accepted at a big meeting, it showed something very important. It was the biggest try in many years for Arab countries to unite their armies and create a shared defense. It also showed that Arab nations were starting to think differently and with more worry about the dangers from Israel. This new situation changed regional security greatly. This book will explore all these important events. It will look at the details of the Israeli attack, why Egypt made its big proposal, and how these actions completely changed the way security works in the Middle East in late 2025. This story is about how one moment created a major crisis and shaped the future of many nations. 2. A big attack in Qatar. The Israeli operation against Qatar was very precise. 8 F-15 and 4 F-35 fighter jets took part. They flew south from Israel, over the Red Sea. From there, they launched ballistic missiles. The missiles flew across the Arabian Peninsula to Doha, Qatar's capital. The attack targeted a special burnt orange residential building in the Qattara district. This building was known to house Hamas's political office. However, it was also near schools, embassies, and many civilian homes. This quick, surprise attack showed great daring. The United States knew about the attack, but only just before it happened. Israeli officials told them only minutes before the missiles were launched. This was too late for the U.S. to stop it or warn Qatar. By the time U.S. space sensors saw the missiles in the air, they had already hit their target. This short notice meant Israel kept full control of the operation. President Donald Trump, the current U.S. president, later called the attack unfortunate. He also said it was against American goals in the region. Mr. Trump stated on Truth Social that it was a decision made by Prime Minister Netanyahu. It was not a decision made by me. This happened while Hamas leaders were discussing a ceasefire plan proposed by President Trump. The attack caused significant human suffering. 6 people died. Among them were Mahmoud al-Haya, who was the son of a chief Hamas negotiator and his office director. Also, a Qatari internal security force member was killed. This was the first time an Israeli military action directly led to the death of a Qatari official. Several civilians were also hurt. The attack did not completely achieve its main goal, as most Hamas leaders survived. Their negotiating team also remained active. Qatar reacted quickly and strongly. Prime Minister Mohammed bin Abdul Rahman Al Thani said the attack was state terrorism. He also said Israel was acting like a rogue player in the region, meaning it was acting without following rules. Qatar felt very angry and betrayed. This was because Qatar was working as an important mediator for Gaza ceasefire talks. The United States had specifically asked Qatar to help with these discussions. Many people in Arab countries saw the attack as a clear attempt to stop peace talks. They believed Israel wanted to show it would attack mediators just like it would attack enemies. 3. Egypt has a new idea. Arab countries have tried to form military alliances before. One important effort was the Joint Defense and Economic Cooperation Treaty in 1950. This treaty was signed in Cairo soon after Israel was created. It aimed to provide a way for Arab nations to defend each other if attacked. It also set up councils and commissions for defense. However, these past attempts did not work well because of disagreements and different national goals. Cooperation stayed limited due to political issues among the member states. After the recent attack, Egypt's President Abdel Fattah el-Sisi presented a new, detailed plan for an Arabian NATO. This was Egypt's most ambitious idea for Arab military unity in many years. The plan outlined a multi-part defense system. First, Egypt would host the alliance's main office and would name the top military leader for the first period. After that, leadership would change among the 22 Arab League countries. A civilian would be the alliance's Secretary General, while military command would go between Egypt and the wealthy Gulf states. This balanced Egypt's military experience with the Gulf's financial power. The new alliance would start with about 20,000 soldiers. Egypt would send the most troops. The force would have navy, air, and ground units, plus special counter-terrorism teams. Each country would give what it could, based on its military strength and money. The alliance would work like NATO's Article 5. This means if one member country was attacked, all other members would see it as an attack on themselves. For troops to be sent, the attacked country would need to ask, and top commanders would have to agree. Money for this alliance would mostly come from the rich Gulf countries, with Saudi Arabia leading the way. Egypt would give most of the soldiers and its military knowledge. Egypt had several reasons for proposing this alliance. The country faced big economic problems, made worse by fighting in the region and lower income from the Suez Canal. An alliance could bring money from the Gulf to help Egypt's military get better. Egypt also wanted to get back its role as a key leader in the Arab world, a position it felt it had lost. President Sisi aimed to show Egypt was protecting Arab interests against Israel. Furthermore, Egypt feared Israel more and more. Israeli talk about Greater Israel and possible claims to Egyptian land in Sinai deeply worried Cairo. Finally, this plan helped Sisi gain support at home, showing strong national leadership and shifting focus from domestic challenges. 4. A meeting of leaders. After the shocking attack, many world leaders acted quickly. An emergency summit, or big meeting, was called in Doha, Qatar. Leaders from 57 Arab and Islamic countries traveled there. This large gathering showed how serious the recent events had become for the whole region. It was one of the biggest meetings of its kind in many years. Egypt's President Sisi and his team came with a clear goal. They wanted to build support for their new idea, an Arabian NATO. This would be a strong military alliance for Arab nations. Egypt's foreign minister, Badr Abdelati, spoke to the leaders. He presented the plan as a necessary step for defense. He stressed that this alliance would protect the region on its own without needing help from outside powers. The idea was simple. An attack on one member country would be seen as an attack on all. However, not all countries at the summit fully supported Egypt's plan. Key players like Qatar, the country that had just been attacked, and the United Arab Emirates, UAE, did not agree with the idea of a new alliance. A big reason for this disagreement was who would be the main leader of such a force. Both Saudi Arabia and Egypt wanted to be in charge, but they could not agree on this important point. This disagreement showed deeper problems between the countries. Qatar, for its part, was hesitant for other reasons. Its officials worried that joining a strong military alliance might make it harder for them to be a fair mediator in future peace talks. Qatar had a history of helping with talks between different groups, and it did not want to lose that role. The UAE also had some long-standing concerns about Egypt's influence in the region. During the summit, the leaders strongly condemned the Israeli attack on Doha. They called it a flagrant violation of sovereignty and said it went against international law. They praised Qatar for its efforts. Many remembered that Hamas leaders were meeting to discuss a new ceasefire proposal from United States President Donald Trump when the Israeli missiles struck. This fact made the attack seem even more defiant. In the end, the summit's final statement included strong words against Israel. It asked member states to think about imposing sanctions, stopping arms sales, and changing their diplomatic ties with Israel. However, these were only suggestions, not rules that countries had to follow. No agreement was reached on taking joint military action. The grand plan for an Arabian NATO did not get enough support, showing that even in a crisis, unity on military action was hard to achieve. 5. The Gulf Countries Act. The Gulf Cooperation Council, or GCC, is a group of 6 Arab countries: Saudi Arabia, Kuwait, the United Arab Emirates, Qatar, Bahrain, and Oman. After the attack in Doha, these countries held a special meeting. It was a very important meeting for them. At this meeting, the GCC made a big decision. For the first time ever, they started their joint defense agreement. This agreement means that if one GCC country is attacked, it is like all GCC countries are attacked. This was a new and strong step. It showed that the Gulf countries were united. The GCC leaders agreed on 5 key actions. They wanted to make their defense stronger together. First, they decided to share information about threats more quickly. This is called intelligence sharing. They would use a shared military command to do this. Second, they planned to send real-time air information to all their defense centers. Third, they would work faster on a system to warn against missiles. This system watches for incoming ballistic missiles. Fourth, they agreed to update their defense plans together. And fifth, they would do more joint military training exercises. These exercises would help their air forces and air defense systems work better as one. The GCC countries have strong militaries. They spend a lot of money on defense. In total, they spent over $114 billion in 1 year. Saudi Arabia spends the most, about $69 billion each year. It has a very large system to defend its skies. Both Saudi Arabia and the United Arab Emirates, or UAE, have advanced missile defense systems. These systems can stop dangerous missiles. The UAE also spends a lot, more than $20 billion on its military. Other GCC countries like Qatar, Kuwait, Oman, and Bahrain also have good defense forces. However, there are still problems. Even with powerful armies and good equipment, the GCC faces issues. Some experts say that there are still gaps in their air and missile defenses. It is also hard for the countries to work perfectly together. Political differences among them can make it difficult to have one strong command. Also, many big cities and important places in the Gulf are close to each other. This means that if an attack gets through, it could cause big damage. So, working together is very important, but also a big challenge. 6. A new team: Saudi Arabia and Pakistan. After the idea of an Arabian NATO was not fully accepted, Saudi Arabia decided on a different security plan. On September 17, 2025, Saudi Arabia and Pakistan signed a special defense agreement in Riyadh. Saudi Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman and Pakistani Prime Minister Shehbaz Sharif were the leaders who signed it. This important paper was called a Strategic Mutual Defense Agreement. A very key part of this deal said that if one country was attacked, the other country would think it was an attack on both. This is much like NATO's Article 5, where members promise to defend each other. The agreement states it covers all military capabilities. This immediately made people wonder about Pakistan's nuclear weapons, as it is the only Islamic country that has them. This pact formalizes many years of military help between the two nations. Since 1967, Pakistan has trained over 8,000 Saudi military people. Today, about 1,500 to 2,000 Pakistani troops work in Saudi Arabia, providing training and security. This new defense deal changed how power works in the region. Saudi Arabia used to rely on security help from the United States. But after the Israeli attack on Qatar and the U.S. not taking strong action, Saudi Arabia started to look for new ways to protect itself. This agreement with a nuclear-armed country like Pakistan offers a different kind of security. It gives Saudi Arabia defense promises from a country that shares its religion and culture. For example, Iran, which faces its own issues, now has to think about Pakistan's nuclear power potentially helping Saudi Arabia. This could make Iran speed up its own nuclear plans or seek closer ties with Russia and China. Other countries watched this new partnership with concern. India was worried because this agreement could make Pakistan's military even stronger, including its missile and nuclear programs. India and Pakistan have had military conflicts in the past. American officials were also concerned. They had private worries about Saudi Arabia possibly getting Pakistani nuclear technology or missiles. The United States also wondered how Pakistan, with its nuclear weapons, would act if Saudi Arabia got into a fight with Israel. This new defense pact created many difficult questions for peace and stability in the Middle East for everyone involved. 7. Israel's plan and America's problem. Israel's new military actions showed a more aggressive plan across the Middle East. After a big attack on October 7, Israel started striking many countries like Palestine, Lebanon, Syria, Tunisia, Qatar, and Yemen. This showed that Israel believed it could attack enemies anywhere, without limits. Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu openly said that terrorist leaders would not be safe in any location. This strategy aimed to show Israel's wide reach and power, and to destroy what it called terrorist groups, even if they were in other countries far away. An important reason behind Israel's actions was the idea of Greater Israel. This belief suggests that Israel should control a larger area, which includes parts of countries like Egypt, Syria, Lebanon, and Jordan. This idea deeply worried Arab nations, especially Egypt, who saw it as a direct threat to their land, particularly the Sinai Peninsula. This made Egypt believe that Israel was a very dangerous neighbor. This bold strategy had high risks for Israel. For example, the attack on Qatar did not kill many Hamas leaders as planned. Instead, it made many Arab and Islamic countries very angry. This anger pushed these countries to work closer together on defense, something Israel usually wanted to avoid. The attack also made Hamas seem more resilient and strengthened its hand in peace talks. The United States faced a big problem, caught between two important friends, Israel and Qatar. Israel told the U.S. about the attack on Qatar only minutes before its missiles hit. This late notice meant the U.S. could not stop the attack or warn Qatar in time. President Donald Trump called the attack unfortunate and said it was against America's goals for peace. However, he did not directly condemn Israel. He noted that getting rid of Hamas was a worthy goal. Later, President Trump clearly stated on Truth Social that the attack was Prime Minister Netanyahu's decision, not his. The Trump administration then worked to manage the anger. Secretary of State Marco Rubio traveled to Jerusalem to show support for Israel. At the same time, he reassured Gulf allies that the U.S. still cared about their safety. This situation showed that the U.S. sometimes struggles to control its ally, Israel. This made Arab nations start looking for new security partners, like the defense pact Saudi Arabia made with Pakistan, rather than relying only on American help. 8. What happens next? The Israeli attack on Qatar caused a permanent shift in the Middle East. Before this, many Arab countries often relied on the United States for their security. But after the strike, their trust in American support began to decrease significantly. The U.S. found itself in a very difficult position, needing to maintain good relations with both its ally Israel and its close partner Qatar. President Donald Trump's administration tried hard to manage the fallout and calm rising tensions across the region. Despite these efforts, Arab nations now felt a powerful need to create new security plans that were less dependent on outside powers. They wanted to take more control over their own protection. 8. What happens next? The Israeli attack on Qatar caused a permanent shift in the Middle East. Before this, many Arab countries often relied on the United States for their security. But after the strike, their trust in American support began to decrease significantly. The U.S. found itself in a very difficult position, needing to maintain good relations with both its ally Israel and its close partner Qatar. President Donald Trump's administration tried hard to manage the fallout and calm rising tensions across the region. Despite these efforts, Arab nations now felt a powerful need to create new security plans that were less dependent on outside powers. They wanted to take more control over their own protection. Egypt's grand proposal for an Arabian NATO, intended to unify many Arab armies, did not win full support at an important summit. Leaders could not agree on who should lead such a large and powerful alliance, showing old disagreements. However, the core idea of military cooperation did not vanish. Instead, countries began forming smaller, more practical defense agreements. For example, the Gulf Cooperation Council, known as the GCC, activated its Joint Defense Agreement for the very first time in its more than 40-year history. This meant that an attack on any one GCC member would be considered an attack on all. They also made plans to share intelligence more quickly and improve their missile defense systems to better protect their skies. Another very important development was the defense pact signed between Saudi Arabia and Pakistan. Pakistan is the only nuclear-armed Muslim country, and this agreement brought a new and serious balance of power to the region. These new partnerships clearly show that Arab nations now feel an urgent and much stronger need than ever to defend themselves as a group, together. The future path for the Middle East remains very uncertain, with two main possibilities. One path could lead to a dangerous arms race, where countries rapidly acquire more powerful weapons, which might make the region even more unstable and prone to conflict. The other path offers hope for new diplomatic solutions, where leaders engage in serious talks and work towards lasting peace and stability. The severe events following the attack strongly highlighted that the need for collective Arab defense, where nations stand united, is now more critical than it has ever been. What do you believe will define the Middle East's future? Will we see an era of stronger military alliances and increased defense spending? Or will diplomacy lead to long-term stability and cooperation?
Hey there! Just a second before you go. If you learned something new today, please give this video a like, write your thoughts in the comments, and subscribe to the channel. It only takes a second, and it really, really helps to create even better English videos for you. Your support means the world. Thank you.